Hello traders, Rich here, and here's a quick but detailed update on US500. As usual, if you guys like video analysis, let me know in the comments or simply leave a like. So let's get started. As we clearly see, as per my last video analysis, we were waiting for the bulls to break above this high for them to take over to start the correction. The reason why I'm calling it a correction, because if you zoom out to daily time frame, we know that we are overall bearish, making lower highs and lower lows, trading inside this falling broadening wedge, and we are now around the lower bound around the brown trend line, which I consider a non-horizontal support or an oversold area, and also this demand zone which we saw from weekly time frame. That's why we are expecting a correction from here, and as mentioned last week, for the bulls to take over and start the correction, we need to see a break above this high, just like what happened previously. If you want the same logic, after breaking above this high, the correction started, and then the bears took over again for another big bearish impulse. We're expecting the same thing. We're expecting a bullish continuation from here, of course, from a short-term perspective, because we are currently in a correction phase, and then reject this previous major high, which is also a supply, the upper brown trend line, before we trade lower again. Of course, later on, let's take it step by step, but later on, we monitor price action here if you will get a higher low or a lower low. Let me show you what I mean. If you zoom out to weekly time frame, we can see that we had our first impulse responsible of the shift in momentum by breaking below these two lows. Then we had a classic retest of the previous low, right? So this is it. Now we had our next impulse movement breaking below the previous low, and price is currently retesting this previous low, broken downward, acting as a short-term potential resistance area. As mentioned from week, you can see that trade a little bit higher, sorry, before we trade lower. And let's see that monitor price action here. If we will get a bearish impulse to the next rejection zone, demand 3.5k, and so on, or will result in a higher low, and then we'll get a bullish reversal from here. Anyway, let's take it step by step, right? So from H4, we know that the bulls took over, and on the retest of it, we'll be expecting a higher high and a higher low, right? So that's why for those who would like to zoom into lower time frames, you can zoom into M30 or even H1. It depends on your trading plan, and look for trend following buy setups. For example, are currently overall bearish and will be waiting for the bulls to take over again by breaking above the previous high. So it would be a trend following setup after retesting this demand zone from H4 and this previous high. Of course, we might sometimes dive a little bit lower before we trade higher, because we also got the 4K round number. But for now, we are overall bullish from a medium-term perspective, and the correction movement has just started. But let's see how far the bulls would take it. We've got this major high, which I showed you from daily time frame. So this entire zone is a strong one to anticipate or to speculate a trend continuation from here. Of course, we might even drop a trade a little bit higher to test this supply and dive around the brown trend line before trading lower. Anyway, as price approaches this area, I'll be making another video update. Best of luck, and I'll see you on the next one. Before we continue, I want to tell you about Tickmill. Tickmill is established in 2014 and is one of the leading Forex and CFD brokers with registered users from more than 200 different countries. Tickmill is a no-dealing desk and ECN broker regulated in many countries like the UK, Cyprus, and recently in South Africa. With Tickmill, you can trade a wide range of instruments, starting from Forex to indices, commodities, and even crypto. Most importantly, with very low spreads and trading fees. If you don't have an account yet, make sure to create one using my referral link in the description below to benefit from 5% discounts on your trading fees. And let's continue. As we clearly see, NZDJPY has been overall bearish for a while, making lower highs and lower lows. And when we are overall bearish, we'll be waiting for the correction to be about to end to catch what? The next impulse move downward. However, we can't really know where the correction will end. It might end here, here, or even trade a little bit higher before diving lower. That's why, even though we are bearish, we don't sell blindly. We always look for two things. The first one is a key rejection area. In our case, it's this resistance from weekly time frame. It's also the previous high, and this supply zone as we had an aggressive movement down from it. So NZDJPY can sit it a little bit higher before trading lower. So around this area, we'll be looking for sell setups unless we have an aggressive break above it, then this would become a support and we'll be looking for trend following buy setups on the retest, because then and only then the bulls would take over from a long-term perspective and we would be bullish, making higher highs and higher lows from this long-term view. But for now, let's take it step by step, right? You are bearish from daily time frame on the correction phase, waiting for the bears to take over again to sell. If you zoom into H1 time frame, you can see that we are bullish after rejecting this support, and we are currently looking for sell setups as mentioned from daily time frame. So as per my trading plan, I'll be waiting for a new swing low to form around the lower trend line to consider it my trigger swing. For those who know me, I always highlight it like this as my trigger. Here we go. And for the call out, that's it. And when the sell is activated, the stop loss would be just above the previous swing high, because now we're expecting low lows and lower highs, right? So now we're expecting a shift in momentum from bullish to bearish, and we target 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio, which would be around our lower support area. Of course, as price approaches this area again, we'll be looking for buy setups uh, just like previously. Meanwhile, and until the sell is activated as per the sketch, we can still go sideways before forming any other bearish versus setup, even trade higher before trading lower, or as mentioned for the bullish scenario, an aggressive movement upward, then we'll be looking for buy setups on the retest. That's it for NZDJPY. Best of luck, and I'll see you on the next one.